This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, in the previous session we spoke about list. Today we will talk about the remaining things such as tuple, set, dictionary and then strings. So the first step is I'm going to launch the Jupyter Notebook. So you can just search for Jupyter Notebook from here. You don't need to launch the Anaconda Navigator to launch Jupyter Notebook. You can directly search for Jupyter Notebook here and then click on it so that it gets launched on your default browser. In my case, it is Chrome, so it will automatically open on my Google Chrome. So from here, I'm going to go to my downloads folder to actually create notebooks over there. So I'm going to click on downloads. So here, I'm going to say Control F, November 2022. So this is where I'm going to go to. Then here you can just click on New, Python 3. So today we'll talk about the remaining collections or data structures in Python called as tuple, dictionary, set, and then strings. So click on Renew. So to get started with, we'll talk about tuples in Python. So first, let's talk about tuple creation. So how to create a tuple. So first, let's talk about how to create an empty tuple in Python. How to create an empty tuple in Python. So let's add a comment here, empty tuple. So there are two ways to create an empty tuple. First way is using the tuple keyword. This will create an empty tuple for you. So the second way to create an empty tuple is by using the round brackets or parentheses. Look at type of T again, that's a tuple. So these are the couple of ways of creating an empty tuple in Python. So you can even have a tuple with some numbers as well. Let's say T equal to 11, 22, 33. So this is a tuple T. Look at type of T, that's a tuple. Now you can actually have a tuple of colors also, basically tuple of strings as well. Let's say red, green, and then blue. And if you look at colors, if you look at type of colors, that's a tuple, right? So this is how you can create a tuple. But the fundamental reason why we have tuple is nothing but we will use tuple generally to have elements of different data types. Suppose if you take employee, employee will have an employee name, and employee designation, let's say senior software engineer, and let's say age 27. So what is EMP here? EMP is nothing but a tuple. Type of EMP, that's a tuple. So if you wanted to have something where you have the collection of all the different data types, that's where you can use a tuple. So that's with respect to the tuple. Now let's talk about elements in a tuple. Again, how do you access the elements in a tuple? Based on index. So let me add a heading. Accessing elements in a tuple. So let's take EMP. So this is my tuple T, sorry, tuple EMP. To access the elements, again, I can use the index. EMP of 0 will get me the employee name. EMP of 1 will get me the employer designation. So interestingly, EMP of -12 will get me the last element, which is nothing but the age, right? And again, at the same time, you can access the elements based on the index. So that's the main concept behind this. Let's talk about changing a tuple. So can we change a tuple? Can we change a tuple? Changing a tuple. Is this possible? Suppose I wanted to update the employee age from 27 to 29. Let's say EMP of 2 will get me the employee age. EMP of 2 equal to, let's say, 29. Will this be allowed? It won't be, because tuple is immutable in nature. Now, when I say immutable, it is not modifiable. Hence, you are seeing tuple object doesn't support item assignment, which means you cannot modify any element in a tuple. That is not possible. Let's talk about tuple deletion. So let's add a heading for tuple deletion. Tuple deletion. So I'll take the same tuple again. So if I say emp of 0, that's going to get me the employee name. If I say del emp of 0, that's again not going to work, because the reason is tuple is immutable in nature. You cannot remove any element from a tuple. Tuple object doesn't support item deletion. But as a whole, if you wanted to remove a tuple, that is possible. That is, if I say del emp, that's going to remove that entire tuple itself. If the emp is not there. It has been deleted completely. So that's with respect to the tuple deletion. Let's talk about tuple count. Tuple count. So tuple count or tuple frequency. Basically, if you have multiple number of elements repeating, if you wanted to find out the frequency or the number of times an element is occurring, that's where we'll talk about tuple count. So suppose I create a tuple with these elements 11, 22, and then 33. So I have this tuple t. Now I would like to figure out the number of times that is repeating. I can say t dot count of 11. That's going to return me 1 because 11 is repeating only once. T dot count of 22. That's giving me 2 because 22 is repeating 2 times. T dot count of 33. That's giving me 3 because 33 is repeating 3 times. So that's how you can actually figure out the number of times an element is occurring by using t dot count, tuple dot count. Let's talk about tuple index. I'll add a heading for tuple index. I'll create a simple tuple with some elements. So if I say t of 0, that's going to get me the first element. T of 1 will get me the next element, and so on. T of minus 1 will get me the last element, which is nothing but 55. And T of minus 2 will get me the second last element, 44. Now, this contains only 5 elements. But now if I say T of 25, that's going to fail, because the reason is it's going to throw tuple index out of range. You just have only 5 elements, and we are trying to access an element at index position 25, which is actually not correct. Hence, you are going to see index error, tuple index out of range. And another fundamental concept is, if you say T of 12.5, that's again not going to work, because tuple index cannot be a floating value. It should be either numbers or slices, integers or slices. That's with respect to the tuple index. Let's talk about tuple membership. So tuple membership is nothing but finding out whether an element is part of a tuple or not. Tuple membership. We'll take this tuple t that we have created in the previous one. So now I wanted to figure out whether an element is part of this or not. So suppose if I say 11 in t, that's going to give me true. 22 in t, that's going to give me true again. If I say 88 in t, that's going to give me false. Because is 88 part of this tuple t? It is not, right? Now I can negate the condition 88 not in t. If you read this in English, 88 is not part of tuple t, which is actually true, right? It will return me true. That's how you can actually check whether an element is part of this tuple t or not by using in operator. We'll talk about tuple length now. That is, finding out the number of elements in a given tuple is nothing but tuple length. Tuple length. So let's say same tuple. To figure out the number of elements in this tuple, I can just use len function. That's going to return me 5. Let's talk about tuple sort, that is sorting the elements in a tuple. So I'm going to add a heading, tuple sort. I'm going to create a tuple with some random elements now. 31, 45, 78, 11, 25, 68, let's say 9. I have created this tuple with some random elements. Now to sort it, you have to say sorted of t. That's going to sort it in the ascending order. Suppose to do it in a reverse order, which is nothing but the descending order, pass reverse equal to true, that will sort it in the descending order or the decreasing order. So these are the operations that we have to know with respect to tuple. So you might have got an idea that tuple is similar to a list, but one of the very important question is, what is the difference between tuple and a list? What have we learned? The tuple is immutable in nature. That is, you cannot modify any elements within a tuple. Update, delete, or add. These are all not supported. But whereas coming to list, we can change the elements of a tuple. We can change the elements of a list, sorry. But we cannot change the elements of a tuple. That's why tuples are immutable in nature. And of course, we can concatenate or add two tuples similar to a list. This last point is again important. Tuples are used whenever you wanted to return multiple results from a function. We haven't spoken about functions yet. When we talk about functions, we'll talk about this point. Now again, I wanted to stress one more time, what is the difference between list and a tuple? So list generally contains the elements of homogeneous type, that is, elements or the values of same meaning or similar meaning. Whereas tuple contains the elements of heterogeneous type, that is, all the values have the different meaning. So this is the difference between a list and a tuple. Very important again. Now I'll give you some examples to understand it better. Let's say that I'm keeping track of my monthly expenses in the form of a list. Right, you can see every item is an expense which is representing my monthly expenses of monthly expenses basically. So first month $2,300, second month $2,500, and so on. Here each item or each element is an expense. And coming to the other example of a list of names. So Bob, Tom, Partha. Here again, every item or every element is the name of a person. The point is very clear. You have to use a list whenever you wanted to have the elements of same type. Coming to tuple examples, if we take this point 4, 5, here 4 is x coordinate, 5 is y coordinate, right? Again, if you take address, you have street name, location, and then zip code. So again, remember this fundamental concept. List contains homogeneous type elements, tuple contains heterogeneous type elements. Okay, so now I want to talk about the remaining things. I want to talk about set, dictionary, and then string. So let's do the hands-on of set. So what is a set and how to create it? So first let's talk about how to create an empty set. Okay, there is one question in the chat. Can we use, I mean, okay. Yeah, so Lakshmi, I got your question, so I'll take the same elements. And to answer your question, yes, a tuple can have elements of different types. Invalid syntax, okay, you have to give comma here. So you can see the elements of tuple, and you can say type of tree, that's a tuple. So Lakshmi, does that answer your question? Okay, I think we are good so far. Let's talk about set. So first of all, let's see how to create an empty set. So how to create an empty set? So first we'll see how to create an empty set, then we'll see how to populate that. So I'll scroll down. Set creation. So first let's talk about empty set. Type of set. Type of is the set, right? So this is how you can have an empty set. Suppose let's say I wanted to have set with some elements. So have a look here. We have a set of these elements, right? So one interview question here. The interview question goes this way. If you create a set with some duplicate elements, will it throw an error? Let's do that. I'm going to create a set with some uh, I'm going to create a set with some duplicate elements 11 2. Guys, what's your observation? Will it throw an error if it contains duplicates? It won't. But interestingly, it will automatically drop the duplicates. It will keep only the unique values. Have a look here. 22 is repeating 2 times, 33 is repeating 3 times. It did not throw any error when I tried to create a set, but it automatically deleted all the duplicates and I have only the unique or distinct values. So that is the main property of a set. It doesn't allow any duplicate elements. Let's talk about adding the elements to a set. Adding elements. Adding elements to a set. Suppose I have this set. To add the elements, you can say s dot add of 44. So 44 has been added. Now I would like to add multiple elements. Let's say s dot add of 55 and then 66. So you can see that you cannot add multiple elements at the same time. If you have to do that, you have to use s dot update and you have to pass the elements in the form of a list. Now you can see elements 55 and 66 has been added to set S. Let's talk about removing the elements from a set. Remove elements from a set. Let's say s dot remove, I believe. S dot remove of, let's say, 55. So 55 is gone, right? So that's how you can actually remove the elements from a set. You can use del keyword to remove the set as a whole. You can see that I've used del keyword delete to basically to remove the set completely. Let's talk about Python set operations. Python set operations. So I will create two sets. So let's say I have S1, set 1, 33, 44, 55. We'll have set 2, 44, 55, 6, 77, 88. You have S1, you have S2. If I say S1 dot intersection of S2, that will give me the common elements between both. If you closely observe, 44 and 55 are the only common elements between both S1 and S2, and we're able to get the same by using intersection. And if you wanted to get the elements from both S1 and S2, then we can use union. S1 dot union S2, you can see that you are getting the combination of elements from both. Now if I say S1 dot difference of 2, you can see that we are getting elements from only S1, leaving out the elements which are common to both. If you can see that 44 and 55 are common to both, and it's going to remove only the common elements from S1. Whatever is left over, that is 11, 22 and 33, only those will be given as output if you are using S1 dot difference of S2. So now let's say we have something also called a symmetric difference. Let's see what that symmetric difference is all about. You can see the output it is showing as 11, 22, 33, 66, 77, and then 88. That is, so you can see that 11, 22, 33 are coming from S1, 66, 77, 88 are coming from S2. Basically, it's going to leave out the common elements between both, and then it's going to give you the remaining elements. So what is a set? Set doesn't maintain any order, hence it is called as unordered collection of elements. Every element is unique, no duplicates there. So set is again mutable, similar to a list. We can add the elements, remove the elements, etc. And we can also perform some operations such as union, intersection, difference, symmetric difference, etc. This last point is important. So to maintain the uniqueness of the elements, so set internally uses something called as hash map or hash table. Again, don't get into the details of it, but just for the interview sake of it, you can remember this, right? So that's all with respect to set. Now let's talk about dictionary. So what is a dictionary? So always remember the elements in a dictionary will be in the form of key value pairs. You will always have key and you will always have the respective value. Let's talk about dictionary creation first. I will add a heading. Dictionary creation. So I will create a dictionary D. First, let's talk about how to create an empty dictionary. D equal to, if you use dict keyword, that will create an empty dictionary for you. The second way of creating an empty dictionary is by using the flower brackets. If you use these flower brackets, that will also create an empty dictionary for you. Now let's create a dictionary with some elements. Let's say month equal to, so we know that the first month is January, second month is February, and then the third month is March. So what is months here? It is nothing but a dictionary. Always observe here, we will have the keys and values together. So here key is nothing but 1, 2, 3, and values are nothing but Jan, Feb, and March. So always a dictionary is a combination of multiple key value pairs put together. That's with respect to the dictionary creation. Let's talk about dictionary looping. I will add a heading for dictionary looping. Dictionary looping. So let's say that I'll create a dictionary called as my cars, and I will try to create a dictionary. Car 1, let's say BMW. Let's say car 2, let's say you have Skoda. The car 3 you have, let's say Kia. So these are some or model or brand names. So what is my cars here? My cars is nothing but a dictionary. Right? So now I would like to basically traverse through this dictionary, and then I wanted to print it. Let's say for car in my cars, the print of car. You can see it's going to print only the keys. That is car 1, car 2, car 3. These are nothing but the keys. By default, it will print only the keys. Now, if you have to print only the values, then you can say my cars dot values. Sorry, and see that it's going to get me only the values. Suppose if you want the combination of both, then you can try dot items, right? You're going to get both the combination of keys and values together. Now let's talk about dictionary access, how to access the elements in a dictionary. So I will add a heading, dictionary access. Let's create an employee dictionary. Let's say employee name, employee, let's say designation, designation. Let's say software engineer, LC. Let's say age is 25. What is EMP? EMP is a dictionary. To access the elements in a dictionary, I can just use the key. Let's say EMP of name will give me the respective value, which is nothing but Ram. So EMP of, let's say, age will get me the respective value, which is nothing but 25. EMP of test, then it will give you key error, because do we have any key with the name called as test? We don't have. Hence, it will fail with key error. So that's where, to access the elements in a dictionary, the best way is you can use get method. Let's say emp dot get of name. That's going to get to the same output. Emp dot get of age. That's again going to get to the same output. Now if you say emp dot get of test, this time it will not fail. It will return something called as none type. Based on the none type, you can decide whether you have that respective key is available or not. This is a graceful way of handling getting the elements from a dictionary. Let's talk about dictionary add or modify the elements. Let's add a heading. Dictionary add or modify elements. So let's take the same dictionary. Now first let's try to add a new element or new key value pair. Let's say I wanted to add the address. So the key is address. Let's say the address is XYZ. If you look at EMP now, address has been added because that's a new element. Now let's talk about modify or update. Suppose the employee age is 27 now. Then I can modify an existing element. EMP of age equal to 27. Look at EMP now. If you look at the age is showing as 27. So guys, observe one difference here. Do you see any difference between adding a new element or modifying an existing element? There is no change. Syntactically, there is no change. So basically, the way it works internally is first, it's going to look at the key. So here key is nothing but address. Do we already have that key? We don't have it. Then that will go as insert operation or addition operation. And coming to the age is already available. Hence, it will go as modify or update operation. So there is no syntactical differences between whether you are trying to add the element or modify an existing element. Let's talk about dictionary delete or remove the elements. Dictionary delete or remove the elements. I'll take emp again. Let's use del keyword del emp of address. Look at emp. I don't have address anymore. That's how you can delete it. If you wanted to delete the entire dictionary as a whole, you can use del keyword. If you look at emp now, emp is gone. We have deleted the entire dictionary as a whole. Guys, can you hear me? Can someone confirm?
Yes.
Am I audible? Okay, yeah, sorry for the interruption. I think there was a network glitch. I'm back now. Yeah, I was talking about dictionary methods. I'll continue on the same. I'll add a heading for the same. Dictionary methods. So, take the same dictionary. Okay, let me recreate it again. I'll scroll up. I'll copy this. Paste it here. So now I have created this EMP dictionary. To get only the keys, then you can just say dot keys. That will get you only the keys. If you want to get only the values, you call just values, dot values. If you want both, then call dot items. You'll get both. Right? So that's how you can actually use any of these methods to get the respective things such as keys or values or combination of both. So guys, what have you observed? Python dictionary is also an unordered collection of elements similar to a set. So it contains the elements in the form of key value pair. So the keys must be either numbers or strings, and the values can be numbers, strings, or tuples or list. One interview question here with respect to the search operation. If you're trying to search for an element, then dictionaries are faster than tuple, because if you wanted to look for an element in a tuple, it's going to go through sequential approach, element by element. But if it's a dictionary, it's going to directly go there and then pick up the element. Hence, you have the time complexity as big of one. Again, if you don't understand this term called as time complexity and big of one, don't worry. All you have to remember is if you're trying to search for an element, dictionary is faster than tuple. So that's all I wanted to convey. Now let's talk about strings. So first let's talk about string creation, how to create a string. I'll add a heading, string creation. So there are two ways to create a string. One is by using double quotes, let's say hello world, type of s, that's a string. Second way to create a string is by using single quotes. You can even use single quotes to create a string. It's equal to hello again, type of s, that's a string again. So now the question is when to use double quotes, when to use single quotes. Now s equal to, let's say, uh, today is and is birthday, and you cannot use single quotes here because your string itself contains single quotes. You cannot use single quotes. This is where you have to use double quotes. Today is and is birthday. Right? But type of s, that's a string. So that's how we can create a string. Let's talk about accessing characters in a string. Accessing characters in a string. So let's say hello world again. So this is a string s. If you say type of s, that's a string. Again, you can use index to access the characters in a string. S of 0 will get me the first character. S of 1 will get me the next character. And interestingly, if you say S of minus 1, that will get me the last character, D. If you say S of 30, that's again going to throw index error, string index out of the range, because you just have only 10 or 11 characters and you're trying to access a character at index position 30, which is actually wrong. Hence, you're going to see index error, string index out of the range. Right? Again, if you say S of 12.5, that's again going to fail because string index must be an integer. You cannot have floating numbers as an index. So that is with respect to the accessing characters in a string. Let's talk about modify or delete a string. I will add a heading, modify or delete a string. So this is my string. If I say s of 0, I have h. Let's say I wanted to update to y. It's going to fail because string object doesn't support item assignment. So strings are similar to tuple. So strings are similar to tuple in a way that they are also immutable, not modifiable. You cannot update a character of a string. That's a del s of 0. And same, you cannot delete any characters of a string. Strings are immutable in nature. But as a whole, if you want to delete the string, you can do that. Del s, string s has been deleted by using del keyword. Let's talk about string concatenation. So concatenation is nothing but adding two strings. So let's add heading for string concatenation. This one is hello. S2 is S2 is world. We say S1 plus S2. That's going to say hello world. If we say S1 plus space S2, I can see that you are adding two strings together. Then let's talk about iterating through a string. Iterating a string. So let's say I'll create a string with some characters. Let's say hello world. If you look at S now, S is hello world. I wanted to print each and every character of a string by using a loop. I can say for character in S, print of character. So you can see that I'm able to print all the elements of a character. Suppose, let's say that I wanted to find out number of times a character is repeating. So let's write a small code for that. Let's say target character equal to input of enter any character. Any character. So let's say I have count as well, count equal to 0 per character in S if character equal to target character. Then I'm going to increment count. Count equal to count plus 1. So let's run this code. Let's say I'll enter H. Oh, sorry, I have to print it as well. 1 minute. Print, print. You can say character, target character, character has occurred, then say times. Dot format. You can say target character, then the count. So let's run this code. Let's say H. You can see that H has occurred one time. So what is S here? S is nothing but hello world, right? In hello world, H is repeating one time. Let's run it again. Let's say L. L is repeating 3 times as expected. That's how we can navigate through a string and then do all these operations. Let's talk about string membership test. So string membership test is nothing but finding out whether a character is part of a string or not. String membership test. Again, I will take hello world. Suppose if I say H in S, that's going to give me true. If I say E in S, that's again going to give me true. If I say X in S, that's going to give me false because X is not part of S. If I say X not in S, so again we are saying that X is not in S. That is true. Should be giving you true. That's how you can do the string membership test by using in operator. Let's talk about string methods. String methods is nothing but, let's say I have a string hello world. Now to convert everything to the lowercase, just say s dot lower to lower, sorry, just lower. That will convert everything to lowercase. S dot upper, S dot upper will convert everything to the uppercase, right? Now if you say s dot split based on space, that's going to give you a list, right? So now there is an exact opposite function to a split function called as join function. The join function takes a list as an input. Let's say months equal to Jan, Feb, and then March. So what is months here? It's nothing but a list. So what we can do is we can use join function. Join function takes a list as an input, and that's going to return you a string. Confirm that, you can assign it to a variable. Look at the value of it, the type of it. You're getting a string. So this is very important, guys. So split function takes a string as an input, returns a list as an output. Let me write it down here. This is important to remember. So with respect to split function, what is the input element? Is nothing but a string, right? And finally you are getting a list as an output. Whereas coming to join, this is opposite. Input is nothing but a list and output is nothing but a string. These are the key differences between split and join. Now let's talk about find function. Let's say s equal to hello world. If you look at this string, we have world, right? WR is part of this world. Now if I say s dot find of WR, that's going to give me 6 because this WR is part of this hello world and it is starting at index position 6. Hence you are getting the output as 6. If I say s dot find of test, that is giving me -1 because test is not part of hello world, right? As expected, it is giving me -1. Let's say I have a string. Let's say that morning I want to replace bad with good. Then you can say s dot replace bad with good. That's how you can replace bad with good. So these are the important string functions that you have to remember, or string methods. Let's talk about this. Sort words in alphabetical order. Sort words in alphabetical order. Okay, let's do that. Sort words in alphabetical order. So suppose, let's say I'll take a string. This is November month. So this is a string. I want to sort the elements or sort the words in alphabetical order and then print it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply split function with space as delimiter. We're going to get a list. Then I can just say list dot sort. That will sort the elements in the alphabetical order. Then I can traverse through this list. You can see that all the elements are printing in the alphabetical order. So what is a string? String is nothing but sequence of characters or letters. Again, remember, computers don't deal with the characters. Even though we are entering characters, it will be internally converted to zeros and ones. So this conversion of characters to numbers is called as encoding, and the reverse process is called as decoding. Right? Now let's talk about f strings in Python. F strings are nothing but the formatted strings. So I'll directly show it with the help of an example. So if you can scroll up. So I'm using format function, right? But these days in the projects, instead of format function, we are using f string, that is formatted string. So what I'll do is I'll use these variables here. I won't use format function. We have to use f here. So let's run this code. So before that, I have to run this piece of code. Okay. So now let's run it again. Let's say h. It has occurred one time. That is expected. Let's say L has occurred 3 times as expected. So instead of dot format function, we are using f string now. You can directly use the variables in this way. And that is the preferred way of writing the code in the latest projects. Okay, so now let's talk about this example. This is but before talking about this example, I wanted to open the previous slides. So let's open this previous slide. I will add heading for Python tips and tricks. Let me open this. Whatever I have covered in the previous session, I'm not going to cover that. Whatever we didn't cover in the previous session, I'm going to cover those. So yes, I want to talk about this counter. So basically, counter is actually from the collections library that will give you a dictionary with the counts of all the unique elements in a list. Okay, so suppose if you have a list something like this, if you wanted to find out the number of times each and every element is repeating, then you can use counter. So let's use counter. 1 minute. So guys, I wanted to take an example. Suppose I'll take a list of elements where the elements are repeating multiple times. Now I wanted to figure out number of times each and every element is occurring. Then what I can do is I can use this counter. I can use collections library from counter. You can use counter from the collections library. So from collections import counter, then you can say print. Okay, you can assign it to variable. Let's say frequency dictionary. You are going to get a dictionary as an output. Then you can say counter of that list. Let's try printing frequency dictionary. You can see that 11 is occurring once, 22 is occurring 2 times, 33 is occurring 3 times. So let's take a string now. Let's say hello world. Right? So let's try using the same print of counter of s. You can see that L is occurring 3 times, O is occurring 2 times, H is occurring 1 time, and so on. This is very important, especially in the interviews. You will get similar questions. I think pretty much the rest of things I've already covered. I think based on previous session, today's session, I've got some interview questions for you. Please have a look at it. And then one more example which I wanted to talk is anagrams from today's session. Let's go back there. So what is an anagram? So if you're able to create, you can see here. So geek and EGK are the anagrams because the reason is EGK has been created from the all the characters of GGK, right? So let's do one thing to understand this better. I would like to basically just a moment. Okay. So def. Okay. Sorry, I think I haven't spoken about functions yet. That's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two strings. Let's say tab, and then let's say bat. Right. S1 is tab, S2 is bat. Let's say sorted of S1 will give me this. Sorted of S2 will also give me this. So what you can do is you can compare both. Sorted of S1 double equal to sorted of S2. If it is returning you true, then both S1 and S2 are called as anagrams. Right? So let's do one more example. Let's say S3 equal to hello and S4 equal to hi. The same logic. Is giving you false. So basically, this is also one of the interview questions. They'll tell you whether find out whether the given two strings are anagrams or not. Right? I hope you got the idea of what is anagram. Right? If you're able to create one string from the other string characters, then that's called as anagram. So we can create bat from tab, right? But we cannot create hi from hello, right? So that's how it is, guys. I think this is enough for today. Let me see if I have anything else. Okay, so I have some more tips and tricks I forgot. We'll wrap it up in 5 minutes. Don't worry. So removing the duplicates from a list. So I have a list with some duplicate elements, and I wanted to remove the duplicates from that. So I can remove the duplicates from a list by using set. I'll create a list with duplicate elements. Then I can remove the duplicates by using set. Set of LST. That's going to remove all the duplicates. So same thing is applicable even if you have some strings also. Set of S. So again, to reverse a string in a single line, you can use this colon colon -1. This is by using actually slicing technique. You can use colon colon -1. That will reverse it. Also, the same multiplication operator is applicable here. This we have seen in the previous session. To remove any useless characters or just start or end of a string, you can use strip. Strip will give you, it will remove the elements from both the sides. R strip will remove only from right side. L strip will remove only from left side. Again, you can create a dictionary from two tuples by using this dict of zip of t1 and t2. That will take the respective elements and then create a dictionary for you. And then you can also use starts with or ends with to figure out whether a given character is starting with that or not. So this is a very simple program. Try if you can, finding out whether string is a palindrome string or not. So if you reverse madam, you're going to get the same again. If you reverse temp, you will not get the same. Hence, temp is not a palindrome string, whereas madam is a palindrome string. Again, as I told, S1 is tab, S2 is bat, both are anagrams. So this example we have already seen, sorting the words in alphabetical order. So this is enough for today, guys. Any questions so far? Anybody have any questions? Okay, then I think we are in a good shape. Let us meet tomorrow then. See you. Bye.